Hello, my name is Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'll be talking about letting go of personal will. The illusory me, the separate personal me, is largely supported and maintained by this idea of personal will. Personal will is what I choose, and everything else that happens to me is not my choice, against my will, or otherwise, not chosen by me. However, in non-duality, there is no second, there is no other. And so there is also no second or other will. There's only the one will. Now, there's two things I will address right off the bat. Because some people will say, well, if there's only one will, how could one person vote Democrat per se and one person vote Republican? Aren't those two contrary choices and thus two wills? And the answer is no. It is a lot like a child who's playing with dolls and, let's say, has two dolls that are acting as a couple, and they're on a trip, and one doll is acted out saying, I want to go to the beach and swim, and the other doll's acted out saying, well, I want to go to the stores and go shopping. And so the two have an argument on what they're going to do for the day. How can this be? It's not two different wills. There's just the one will, that of the child. There's two choices, but the two choices happen because that is what creates and progresses the story, this game of life. For if everyone had the exact same choice and there wasn't any diversity in choices, it would basically end the game. There wouldn't be anything going on. Imagine a movie in which everyone makes the exact same choice. It'd be, just a herd basically always going the same way. It would not be very entertaining. There would be no heroes and villains because those are contrary positions to take. There wouldn't be any cops and robbers. There wouldn't be, so many things, because for this game, this play to even happen, has to have contrary views. And of course, those contrary views are derived from the body and the life experience accumulated through the sensory perceptions. And so each body has its own memory and understanding and knowledge. And based upon all that, it makes its own choice in terms of what makes sense to this body. However, the will behind all choice is one will. Now, the other point about one will, some people might remark about chance or randomness. And I'm not saying that chance and randomness doesn't exist. Chance and randomness does exist, however, it was chosen by that will. For again, in the game, it is nice to have surprise. And if you're playing a game of craps, if you choose every roll of the dice, that doesn't make much of a game because you'd be rolling 7s and 11s constantly, winning every time. Instead, you leave it up to chance by choice. The dice are rolled, you don't know what's going to happen. In this way, you also create the opportunity of surprise. For fundamentally, one cannot plan a surprise party for themselves. It just won't work. You can't be surprised. And so chance and randomness provide the opportunity for wonder and surprise. And so yes, there are contrary choices by various body minds. And yes, there is chance and randomness. However, there's only the one will. And if you let go of this idea of a personal will, and go with that there is only one will, which you could even call God's will, Brahman's will, it is very similar to bhakti and devotional types when they say that everything is God's will. And in that way, you surrender and accept to whatever happens as it happens. Just like in the election where Trump was elected, this body-mind, due to its life experiences, opinions, such like that, voted for Hillary. However, the collective votes of all body minds elected Trump. And so the will that chose Hillary in this body mind willed the election of Trump en masse. It's not contrary. It's what keeps the game and play going. And from the standpoint of this body mind, as someone who is aware of non-duality and realizes the self, has awakened, whatever label or term you want to use, there is this instant acceptance, non-resisting, non-denying basically, of the election result where Trump won. When Trump won, I didn't have a problem with it. Likewise, some people sometimes ask about, how do you not get derailed by, world events or disasters or whatever else? In the same way, it's accepted the same way. It's of one will. It is automatically accepted. And so if I'm in Florida and a hurricane hits, so be it. If I'm in Minnesota and a tornado whips through, so be it. Natural disasters, events do not affect one who's awake or a yoni in the same way, because you're no longer resisting and denying. There's this embracing of the one will. And so if it happens, that's what happened. It's allowed, accepted. It's not resisted and denied. And then you move from there, because it's part of the play. Much like if you watch a disaster movie and an earthquake happens, and then the hero goes in and starts rescuing people. It's part of the play. And so if a disaster happens, a world event happens, that doesn't mean I just go, okay, and I don't do anything about it, and I just kind of lay in a corner or whatever. It's more that as I may be moved, I may decide to do something, whatever the case may be. And so that is allowing what is to happen as it is, but at the same time, you can also act. There's a will and choice to do something about it. And that's what continues this play, this world game. But never is there this idea of things are happening to me against my will. This idea has been given up. There's no personal will. This idea of personal will has been given up. There's a choice, but it comes from the one will. Whatever happens comes from the one will. And so there's no expectation for results. You're free to act, but the results may not be as you wish, but you're not in control of that. There's the freedom to choose to act, but the results of action are left to providence, fate, whatever you want to call it. The will of God, doesn't matter, but it is allowing things to happen. Now, when I say allow again, what I mean is not resisting and denying. You're not resisting and denying what is. Because in a certain extent, that's what saying that wasn't my choice is. It's saying, no, this wasn't my choice. And so you're resisting what's going on. And for the yoni, you would never say, this wasn't my choice. For whatever happens is of the one will. And it's a different way of playing the game, a way of looking at things. Although this is the natural default, set for the yoni, one who has awakened, the enlightened, however you want to put it, it is still something that might be worth playing with if you're a seeker. Become aware of personal will and try to let it go. Perhaps adopt a bit more of a bhakti attitude of everything's God's will and just surrender to what comes. Because what this does do is it diminishes the me. It diminishes the strength of the me. There's less maintaining it because you're no longer in conflict with what is. Now you're just allowing what is. And in that way, there's less of a me there. But if you have any questions, though, please post below. If you think somebody might be interested in this video, please forward. It'd be great if you share it. But until next time, thank you much.